Every day we wake up to news that reminds us of how fragile life truly is. Today, the world lost four remarkable American legends. People who inspired us, entertained us, and shaped our culture in ways we'll never forget. Their stories remind us that greatness isn't about how long we live. It's about the mark we leave behind. The news came quietly this morning, carrying with it a deep sense of loss across both the entertainment world and the environmental community. James Murray, the beloved British actor and passionate river conservationist, has passed away. He was just 50 years old. Those who knew him remember a man of depth and quiet conviction. On screen, his performances had a rare emotional honesty, thoughtful, patient, and deeply human. But beyond the camera, he found his true calling in the natural world, where he became one of the strongest voices for Britain's rivers. Born on January 22, 1975, James grew up surrounded by the green beauty of the English countryside. That landscape would shape much of his spirit and his future. Acting came naturally to him, a way to express emotion, to understand the human story. Over the years, he appeared in countless films and television dramas, earning praise for his sincerity and quiet charm. But even in the height of his acting career, there was something else calling to him. He often spoke of finding peace near the water, of listening to the rivers that flowed through his childhood memories. Nature, he once said, reminds us who we are when the world makes us forget. As the years passed, his love for the environment became more than a private passion. James turned his attention toward river conservation, speaking out about pollution and the loss of natural habitats across the UK. He worked closely with environmental organizations, using his platform not for fame, but for change. In 2023, he founded Activist Anglers, a movement of citizens and conservationists working to protect wild salmon and the rivers they depend on. By 2025, he served as deputy chair for River Action, a British charity devoted to restoring the nation's waterways. His leadership inspired thousands to join in, not because of celebrity influence, but because of his authenticity. He never lectured or shouted. He simply cared, and people listened. In interviews, he often spoke about legacy. "If I can leave this world with cleaner rivers," he once said, "then I'll have done something worth remembering." Those words, now echoed across social media, feel even more powerful in his absence. Tributes began to pour in within hours of the announcement. River Action released a heartfelt statement. James wasn't just an advocate. He was a friend of the rivers. His vision and kindness changed the way we fight for nature. Fellow actor and friend Benedict Cumberbatch wrote, "James carried stillness into every room. Whether on screen or by the water, he reminded us to live gently." Friends describe him as humble, deeply kind, and grounded in purpose. Despite his achievements, James never saw himself as a celebrity. He preferred quiet walks with his family, painting, and time spent near the rivers he loved. He was also an artist, capturing the stillness of nature in watercolor and ink. His paintings often sold to raise funds for conservation efforts. His passing leaves behind his wife and children, who have asked for privacy but shared a short message saying, "James believed the world was worth fighting for." He left us with that hope. As the days go on, those who admired him, actors, environmentalists, and ordinary citizens, continue to reflect on his rare balance of fame and purpose. Few people manage to bridge two worlds, the art of storytelling and the science of preservation. James did both gracefully. He turned his life into a message that success means little if it doesn't serve something greater. His work with rivers wasn't about recognition. It was about healing. Healing nature, healing people. Today, the rivers he loved still flow. And somewhere in their quiet rhythm, there is a trace of his spirit. Patient, strong, enduring. James Murray's story reminds us that legacy isn't built in the spotlight. It's written in the things we protect, the kindness we leave behind, and the difference we make when no one is watching. He will be remembered not just as an actor, but as a guardian of nature, a man who gave his fame back to the earth that shaped him. May his rivers run clear forever. The world of golf woke to somber news this morning. Mike Joseph Hill, the American professional golfer remembered for his quiet strength and lifelong grace, has passed away. He was 86, across fairways and clubhouses. His name carried the calm respect of a man who played not for glory, but for love of the game. To many, he was more than a golfer. He was a symbol of patience, dignity, and unshakable perseverance. Born on January 27, 1939, in Jackson, Michigan, Michael Hill grew up with simple beginnings and a deep admiration for his older brother, Dave Hill, who also became a professional golfer. Together, they shared not only a family bond, but a lifelong rivalry that pushed them both toward excellence. From the dusty practice ranges of Michigan to the bright greens of the PGA Tour, their journey became part of American golf history. Michael turned professional in 1967. While his brother often made headlines for his bold personality, Michael's reputation was built on consistency and kindness. He let his game, not his words, and do the talking. His calm demeanor earned him the nickname, the Gentleman of the Green. Through the 1970s and 1980s, Hill built a career defined by persistence. He captured 3 PGA Tour victories and later found a remarkable second wind on the senior PGA Tour, winning 18 times and ranking among the circuit's most respected competitors. But beyond numbers, it was his sportsmanship that truly stood out. Colleagues often recalled his quiet rituals, a brief look toward the horizon before each swing, a respectful nod to every opponent. He never celebrated too loudly, one fellow golfer said. He believed the course deserved silence. Even as age began to slow him down, Hill's dedication to the game never wavered. In his later years, he became a mentor to younger players, offering advice with the same calm tone that had defined his career. Many remember how he would spend hours after tournaments, helping new golfers understand patience, focus, and the mental art of the game. When news of his passing broke, tributes came from all corners of the golf world. The PGA Tour released a heartfelt message. Michael Hill's grace and humility represented the best of golf's traditions. His contributions will never be forgotten. Longtime friend and competitor Hale Irwin wrote, "Mike played the game the way it was meant to be played, with heart, honesty, and quiet strength." On social media, younger players who grew up studying his career shared personal messages of gratitude. One post read, "Michael Hill taught us that real greatness is calm, not loud. He played with soul." His family described him as a loving husband, father, and grandfather, a man who carried the same calm at home as he did on the course. He found joy in simple things: early morning walks, time spent with his grandchildren, and moments of silence before sunrise. In interviews, Hill often spoke about the deeper meaning of golf, not as competition, but as reflection. "Every round," he once said, "teaches you something about who you are." Those words now serve as both a lesson and a farewell. He played during a golden era of golf, standing alongside legends like Arnold Palmer and Lee Trevino, yet he remained humble, content to walk quietly behind the roar of the crowd. For Hill, legacy wasn't measured in trophies, but in respect. And respect he earned in abundance. As the world remembers him today, the image that remains is simple. A man standing on a sunlit fairway, eyes steady, posture calm, the wind brushing softly against his cap. A man at peace with his game and with life. Michael Hill's passing marks the end of an era, but his presence lingers in every fairway and every handshake shared between players. His story reminds us that true greatness isn't in the spotlight. It's in the quiet integrity that lives long after the applause fades. He will be remembered as one of golf's true gentlemen. A steady hand, a humble heart, and a soul that never stopped believing in the beauty of the game. Rest gently, Michael Hill. The greens are quieter now, but your spirit still walks among them. The news of her passing came with quiet reverence. Anne Fagan Ginger, the American lawyer, writer, and lifelong activist, has died at the age of 100. For more than a century, she carried the voice of justice through the toughest halls of history, from the streets of protest to the chambers of international law. Born on July 11, 1925, Anne grew up during a time when women's voices were often silenced. Yet even as a young girl in Ohio, she refused to stay quiet. She believed that law could be more than rules. It could be a tool for compassion, for fairness, for change. Her journey began at the University of Michigan, where she studied law at a time when few women dared to. She later became one of the few female attorneys to argue civil rights cases in the 1950s and 60s, standing shoulder to shoulder with movements that defined a generation. Those who knew her say she was not loud, but her words carried weight. She spoke with calm conviction, often reminding those around her that justice isn't something you wait for, it's something you build. That belief guided her entire life. During the height of the civil rights era, Anne worked alongside activists who were challenging segregation and discrimination across the United States. Her early legal work helped defend the rights of workers, students, and those silenced for speaking truth to power. In the decades that followed, she turned her attention to international law and human rights, connecting the struggles of America to those happening around the world. She believed deeply that peace and justice were not separate ideals, but two sides of the same purpose. She founded the Meikle-John Civil Liberties Institute, a research and advocacy organization that became a vital force in documenting human rights abuses and pushing for global accountability. For Anne, documentation was not just paperwork, it was testimony. It was history written by those who refused to be forgotten. In interviews, she often said her goal was to make the law work for people, not against them. Her writing and teaching inspired generations of students to see law not as power, but as promise. When the news of her death broke, tributes began pouring in from activists, legal scholars, and former students. Civil rights attorney Brian Stevenson wrote, "Anne Fagan Ginger was a bridge between movements. She believed the fight for justice had no borders." A longtime colleague shared, "She lived her principles every single day. Anne didn't just talk about change. She showed us how to make it real." On social media, younger lawyers expressed gratitude for her influence. One post read, "Her work taught me that every voice matters, even when no one's listening." Anne's career was long, but her passion never dimmed. Even in her 90s, she continued to write, lecture, and mentor those fighting for equality. Her home in Berkeley, California, became a quiet meeting place for activists and thinkers filled with books, notes, and the same unwavering energy that had fueled her for decades. Her family described her as thoughtful and deeply kind, a woman who spent her life seeking justice for others, yet always made time to listen, to teach, to care. They shared a brief statement saying, "Anne believed that love and justice are not opposites. They are partners." Looking back on her century of life, it's clear that Anne Fagan Ginger's story was never about recognition. It was about persistence, about keeping faith in humanity when the world seemed too divided to heal. Through her writing, she gave language to fairness. Through her teaching, she gave courage to the next generation. And through her lifelong work, she gave the world a living example of what it means to never give up on justice. Today, as friends and admirers remember her, they speak not only of her achievements, but of her spirit, a spirit that refused to rest while others suffered, a spirit that believed in the long road toward equality, no matter how many steps it took. Her name may not have always been in headlines, but her influence reached courtrooms, classrooms, and communities around the world. She showed that one person, armed with conviction and compassion, can indeed shift the direction of history. Anne Fagan Ginger's voice will continue to echo in every fight for human dignity, in every movement that demands fairness, and in every lawyer or activist who still believes that justice belongs to everyone. She will be remembered not only as a scholar and a fighter, but as a light, one that burned steadily through a century of change, and that now shines in the hearts of those she inspired. Rest in peace, Anne Fagan Ginger. Your century of courage will live on, one act of justice at a time. The film world is mourning today after the passing of Robert Ellis, the American cinematographer and documentary filmmaker whose camera told the quiet stories of a nation. He was 82. For more than 5 decades, his lens captured the faces, voices, and landscapes that shaped the American story, not in grand moments, but in the simple beauty of ordinary life. Born on June 10, 1943, in Kansas City, Missouri, Robert grew up surrounded by wide open skies and small-town life. Those early images, dusty fields, sunsets over railroads, neighbors waving from porches, would later become the soul of his work. From a young age, he believed that film wasn't just about motion. It was about memory. He began his career in the late 1960s, working as a camera assistant on independent film sets before finding his true calling in documentary storytelling. Ellis had a rare gift. He could see poetry in everyday scenes. A farmer's hands, a child's laughter, the stillness of a winter morning, through his lens. These became timeless pieces of America. Throughout his long career, he collaborated with public broadcasters and film studios alike, bringing human stories to screens across the country. His acclaimed series Heartlands explored the fading traditions of rural America, earning him a Peabody Award and a reputation as one of the nation's most authentic visual storytellers. He often said that his favorite moments came when the camera was forgotten. "That's when truth appears," he once told an interviewer. "When people stop performing and start being." Friends remember him as humble and soft-spoken, often preferring to let his work speak for him. He wasn't drawn to fame or red carpets. Instead, he found peace in the silence between takes, adjusting light, waiting for the wind to move just right. When news of his death broke, tributes flooded in from filmmakers, students, and fans who grew up watching his work. The American Documentary Association shared, "Robert Ellis gave us America in its purest form. Not perfect, but beautifully human." A longtime collaborator and friend, producer Martha Daniels wrote, "He saw people no one else looked at. He made them unforgettable." On social media, one admirer shared, "His films made me proud to be from a small town." He showed that every story matters. Over the years, Ellis mentored countless young filmmakers, teaching them not only how to handle a camera, but how to see. He believed every frame should carry empathy, that storytelling wasn't about spectacle, but connection. Many of his students have since gone on to shape modern documentary filmmaking, carrying his influence forward with gratitude. In his later years, he continued to work quietly, often returning to rural America to film independent projects. Those who saw him in the field say he was never without his old 16mm camera and a worn notebook filled with sketches and quotes. He treated every film like a love letter, one colleague said, not to fame, but to life itself. Away from work, Robert was a family man, devoted husband, father, and grandfather. His family described him as gentle and thoughtful, always encouraging creativity and curiosity in everyone around him. In a statement, they wrote, "Robert believed the camera was not just an eye, but a heart. Through it, he helped us all see the good that still exists in this world." Even as the years slowed him down, his passion never faded. He continued to document stories until his final months, focusing on projects that explored aging, memory, and time, subjects that felt increasingly personal. His final film, The Quiet Years, premiered just months before his passing, and critics called it a masterpiece of reflection. Looking back, it's clear that Robert Ellis gave the world more than images. He gave perspective. He showed that America was not just skyscrapers and cities, but small towns, fields, and the hands that built them. He showed that truth doesn't need polish. It needs patience. His passing marks the end of a remarkable chapter in American filmmaking. Yet through the documentaries he created, his vision will continue to live, in classrooms, in film festivals, and in the hearts of those who still believe that every story, no matter how small, deserves to be seen. Robert Ellis once said, "The camera doesn't remember fame. It remembers feeling." That sentiment now feels like his lasting message, a reminder that the best stories are not told in shouts, but in whispers. Today, as the lights fade in editing rooms across the country, many will pause to honor a man whose work helped the world see beauty in simplicity. His life was a testament to art's quiet power, to watch, to understand, and to remember. He will be remembered as a true craftsman of light and emotion, a storyteller who held a mirror to the heart of America, and in doing so helped it see itself more clearly. Rest in peace, Robert Ellis. Your lens may be still, but your vision will never fade.